morning, everybody. Good morning video. I'm Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of things. The title of this video is Lead by Counsel, and so we're going to talk more about mom and dad's relationship. What I counsel people to do, coach people to do, is by having a family meeting. And you need to have that family meeting at least once a week. At least. So often I hear dads... like one of the things that I heard from dads when I've been working with families for the last 2 weeks was, well, I feel like I'm in the dark. And I go, oh, that's no good. You don't ever want dad to feel like he's in the dark. You want him to feel like, hey, I know what's going on. I know what's going on, and she's got it, but I know what's going on. And really, those are things that dad needs to know. Even if you're the one running the show while he's gone, he needs to know what's going on. So when we sit down and have that family meeting, and granted, Eric's home with us now, but even before he was home with us, we sat down to have this family meeting every week. I want to know like what the kids are up to. And if your kids are really small, they may not have anything save maybe a birthday party on a Saturday or something like that. But I'm telling you, you get in the habit of doing it when they're small. And then when they're big, like I've got big people now that I have to be concerned about. Like the biggest spots on our calendar right now are what's going on with Eleanor. And, she's a teenager and she's gone a lot and she can drive. And so we have one vehicle for all of us drivers, which is not a big deal because we live in a very walkable place. But I need to know, like, is there something that you're needing to do this week? What are your activities? And so she's in the habit of doing that. She brings her calendar to the family meeting and we sit and talk about that. The little ones are involved too because I want them to know what's going on for the week. And dad and I then are counseling, we're talking, and we're discussing what needs to happen that week. So that's just the family meeting part. Eric and I also have a business meeting at least once a week so that we're on the same page business-wise since we run this business together, so that he knows what I maybe need him for him to edit on a Tuesday, or when he's here working and we're gone, or he knows, hey, I know she needs me to do some filming this week. So he gets it, he knows. And that can only happen because we are communicating and we are talking on a regular basis. So that family meeting, a regular family meeting, it should be happening. We hold ours on Sundays, Sunday dinner. So that's super helpful. If we don't hold it on Sunday because dad is home, we can do it Monday morning. And so that happens sometimes too over breakfast. But the reason why that meeting is so important is because then there's nobody that can say, I didn't know what was going on. Nobody that can say that. When we have those meetings, we start with a prayer. So start with some mindfulness and get everybody sort of focused. And even Soraya comes to those meetings. Now she'll often trail away. She's 6. She'll often trail away after we get started. But she starts at those meetings. And Sam is in those meetings. He is almost 11. That is super important that they're in the habit of being there. Especially like with Sam now, usually he doesn't have anything, but he might go like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go to this thing at church. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? I didn't know this. Nobody called me and told me. That's because he's the one who's supposed to be telling me. So you really got to get in the habit of talking to your kids and making sure that they know that it needs to be on the calendar. And I have a rule, and the rule is if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. Especially if it has to involve me driving them somewhere. And if I didn't know about it, so sorry, if you don't tell me about it, it ain't happening. And so they only usually takes them one time to learn that piece that, oh, wait, I need to find my own ride because I didn't tell mom and she wasn't prepared and she can't drop everything that she's doing right now. And so, we have these kinds of discussions on a regular basis. It really helps them with time management. It helps them with remembering. It helps them with, like my older teens, it helps them with using their technology smart. Like we have had this conversation with our 3 big kids all the time. You have a smart device. Please don't make it a dumb device by not using it. Use it. Write the calendar. So we have all of the Google calendars all synced to one calendar. And that's the calendar that all of us use on our phones. That way, if Eleanor puts something in her calendar, guess what? It shows up on my calendar and on Dad's calendar. And then when we sit down to do the family calendar once a week, we have our phones, but we also have a paper calendar that sits on the wall. So we go through what's on the phone, and we make sure it's written down on that paper calendar. And that paper calendar is what everybody can see. That's our visual, because even though it's great that it's on our phone in our pocket or in our purse or wherever, It needs to be a visual where you can see it, because that's how things get done. So we make it a visual. It's up there. Everybody sees everything that goes on. And that way, when I input a, like I went and got my hair done the other day, and I put in the next appointment on my calendar. So then when we sit down to have our family meeting today, because it's Monday and we didn't have one yesterday because it's Mother's Day. So when we sit down to have the meeting today, I'll be putting the next hair appointment on the big calendar, the one that's on the wall, and everybody else will be adding their things to that calendar as well. So it is of supreme importance that you have these family meetings. And even if you say to me, "Oh, but I don't do anything," or "Dad doesn't really care," he cares. Trust me. There are families that I visited this week. I've seen several families in the last month, and guess what? Even though there were a couple of situations where Mom didn't think that Dad cared, he cares. So you need to make sure that you have this conversation with him and that you sit down and have these meetings. The meetings are very important for being on the same page. It connects you. It connects you in huge ways. When Dad can see the crazy that might be going on in your life, he might be like, "Oh, whoa, back up the truck. What can I do to help?" Or, "I see that you've got a lot on your plate right now. What can I do to help?" I always tell men, those are the sexiest words they could ever say. What can I do to help? So hugely important words. And when Mom hears that, then she goes, "Oh, it's not just about me at home with these kids all day. It's about us together and how we run this together, on the same page together." So even if you are home doing the lion's share of the work with the children all during the day, he needs to know what's going on. And it's also a great opportunity for him to let you know what's going on. Maybe he's really stressed because he's got stuff going on in the office, and he's got people he needs to discipline, or a boss he's trying to please, or so many things. And if you can communicate, then guess what? You know about those things. You know that, hey, on Tuesday he's got this really long business meeting, and he's going to be exhausted when he gets home, and he's really going to need like his favorite meal or something nice, and then he knows, hey, on Wednesdays, you're at gymnastics all freaking day with those children, and you come home and you just want to fall over. And maybe that's the night that he goes, "Hey, I'm going to bring home a pizza." So when you talk to each other and you communicate and you can see what, the other person's perspective, it is huge for partnerships. Huge. Husbands and wives, wives and wives, husbands and husbands, it doesn't matter. Your partnerships and how you're raising your children, this lead by counsel bit is gigantic. And so I want you to really consider this. If you're not having family meetings now regularly, and by regularly I mean weekly, it's not enough to have it monthly. Too much stuff happens between one month and the next. You need to have it weekly, and you need to start with them when they're small, and make that a piece of your family gathering every week. For those of you that are working with us on Planning for Peace, and we're working on the bit about family mission statement, this is a great opportunity when you sit down together to discuss things that are important to put in the family mission statement. And it really helps. Then you've got everybody's ideas coming, and everybody gets a say in it. And that's really what you want. You want a family mission statement that is reflective of your 6-year-old as much as it is of your 16-year-old, and of you as it is of your husband or your partner. So you want those pieces to be able to come from the people that you're making the mission statement about. So I want you to think about that. If you're not having family meetings, this is a good time to be, working on your mission statements, and it's a really good time to connect as a family. We often, like I said, we usually do it over a meal or as we're finishing up a meal. I do that mostly because it keeps everybody sort of still. We're all there for a common purpose. We all have something that we're, discussing that's common, and it kind of keeps everybody engaged that way. And so what's awesome too is when you lead by counsel in this way and you have these family meetings, you are then able to really see what's going on with everybody. You're able to see if your kids are overscheduled. You're able to see if your teenagers are following through. You're able to see if, your adult children need support from you, even though they don't live at home. You can really, because I always talk to my big kids about, hey, this is what's going on, and even if they're not here, I want them to know what's going on, just so that they know what's going on in our lives. So I hope you guys have a great week. Bye now.